To describe something accurately in only one sentence can be a very hard task, but if I had to describe Mario Bros. Wonder in one sentence, I would say this.
It's everything you think it is, and nothing you're expecting.
It's everything you think it is, and nothing you're expecting. I think that sums up the experience pretty well. This game is filled with a lot of very familiar stuff, but also a lot of really weird new stuff. If I had to describe the game in only one word, I would probably say one. 2023 has been a really good year for Nintendo and Nintendo fans. We've got Tears of the Kingdom, Pikmin 4, and now a 2D Mario game. There has been a few other games, but we don't talk about those. But if I had to say which game out of the big three, I'll call them that, takes the cake this year, it's a no-brainer for me. It's Super Mario Bros. Wonder. There are people out there that complain about how Nintendo seems to make too many Mario games, how they always seem to have time to work on Mario, but they'll wait 10 years before they release the next Pikmin game. I myself have made a few shorts laughing about it, but to a degree, I get it. I understand why Nintendo has made Mario their biggest IP. There's something special that Mario games have that their other IPs are just missing. Now, before you jump to any conclusions, I am not saying that Zelda or Pikmin games, for that matter, are not as good as Mario. In some cases, they're even better. But I don't know if it's pure nostalgia or just the charm that the games have, but for some reason, Mario just clicks with me. There's something about Mario specifically that I just can't get enough of. So now that I have Super Mario Bros. Wonder in my hands, does it live up to the legacy? Yes. Let me tell you, yes, it does. It doesn't just live up to the legacy, it raises it. It always feels a little weird saying that the newest game is the best of all the games, but in this sense, it almost feels good. This is the best 2D Mario game ever. I know, as crazy as that sounds, it's true, and I cannot tell you how happy I am that this game exists. This game does so many things that I thought would never be in a Mario game, let alone a 2D Mario game. I've grown up playing 2D Mario. New Super Mario Bros. Wii was not only one of the first Mario games I ever played, but one of the first video games I ever played. I have just about beat every 2D Mario game, so I know what I'm talking about when I say Super Mario Bros. Wonder delivers. And here are my reasons for why that is. But first, just to make sure it is clear, I have tried my best to make this as spoiler-free as I possibly can. But if I happen to say something that you count as a spoiler, I apologize in advance. However, I highly doubt that's necessary. So let's get on with a few of my biggest takeaways. So first off, let me say, I told you so. Or at least, I wish I could say that. But I never made the video talking about how I thought the talking flowers were a great idea, and how they would actually add to the experience. Before the game launched, a lot of people were really cynical about those talking flowers. They didn't like the idea, they thought they were annoying, they thought they would ruin the game, and I'm sure there are still a few people who think that, but I think the majority can now agree on that they're fun. They are funny. Those little guys are witty. It almost feels like they're the developers talking to you as you play their game. Which might have been their intention. I heard something about them including a live commentary a while back. I have no idea how that would work. But the talking flowers work amazing. I am impressed with the writing for those little guys. It's really weird having dialogue in a Mario game, especially spoken dialogue. But for some reason, these little flowers just work. They just do. If you're not playing the game with the talking flowers enabled, you're missing out. You may also be missing out on the second thing I'll mention, online play. I did not think seeing just the ghost of another player running around would be that much fun, but it is. It's not often that Nintendo makes a game with multiplayer without it being the main selling point, like with Splatoon or Mario Kart. It's not really a big part in this game, and they didn't have to include it, but they did. And because they did, it's just something else that makes this the best 2D Mario game. The game feels so much more alive thanks to it. It's multiplayer without it actually being multiplayer. And even though I can't read half of the names of the other players, we help each other. They show me a secret, I show them a secret. They give me a power-up, I give them a power-up. It's really fun. I have specifically waited at a flagpole so I could jump on it at the same time as another player. That's something I never thought I would do. It's just something else that this game does amazingly well. But do you want to know another thing that this game does amazingly well? The level design. It is still what I would refer to as traditional platforming, but it can get really weird sometimes, and that's not because of the Wonder Flower. I definitely think that Mario Maker 1 and 2 has had a huge influence on this game. There are some level designs in this game that I feel like come straight from Mario Maker. It's almost like Nintendo gave us those games and was like, alright, you guys make 2D Mario creative again, and then took those ideas and turned them into Mario Wonder. Now, of course, a lot of the game is completely original stuff, because a lot of it's stuff we couldn't even build within Mario Maker, but it still makes you think. But even if that's not the case, the level design is still amazing. You just sort of flow through those levels, going from one thing to the next. And eventually, in every level, you will stumble upon the Wonder Flower, which is just one more thing that this game delivers on amazingly. And I'll be honest, going into this game, I was worried about the Wonder Flower. I was concerned that after a while, it would get repetitive. I thought they might reuse wonder effects too often, or that it might become annoying having to deal with that in the middle of a level. But let me reassure you, that is not the case. I can think of a few games where the selling point is, every so often, a really big crazy thing happens. And I was worried that the Wonder Flower was nothing more than a gimmick to help sell the game. But it is so much more than that. A good example would be the very second wonder effect that you come across in the entire game. It's so early on that I wouldn't count it as a spoiler, but just in case you do, there's your warning. So the level starts out just like a normal Mario level. There's piranha plants and there's pipes, and then you come across the Wonder Flower and its effect, and music starts playing, and the piranha plants start singing. And there's no real mechanical change here, it's just piranha plants singing. They're all harmonizing to this weird little song, and the level design is moving you along at just the perfect pace to match the tempo. It is a really weird experience, but it is an amazing first impression, because this is again the second wonder effect in the entire game, and they only get weirder from here. But do you know what made it even better? The music. The fact that it was timed to music. Slowly over time, I think Nintendo is finally realizing that we like their music. That we listen to their music, not because it's in a video game, but because it's just good music. And I think this is an example of Nintendo making a game with that in mind. Did you know when you're running across those little note blocks that your Joy-Cons start to play notes as well? I didn't even know that was possible, but apparently Joy-Cons can make music, and they will match the note of the note you're hitting in the game. There are so many little touches of creativity that just add together to make this such a great game, but out of everything that's been added to this one that's new, there's one thing in particular that I think is the best. The badge mechanic. And again, I'll be honest, the same with the Wonder Effect, I was nervous about them going into this game. I was concerned that they wouldn't be well balanced, and that there would be one badge that was just overall better. And again, I am happy to be wrong. There is a time and a place for every badge. What makes it so much better is the fact that the levels aren't designed with the badges in mind. You can beat any level in the game, except for the badge trials of course, without any badges. You can beat the entire game without ever using a badge once. But miraculously, the levels still work insanely well with them. The second thing I was concerned about is how we choose which badge we want for each level. I did not want the game to tell me which badge to use the first time I join a level. That just takes away the joy of choosing which badge you want to use and experimenting. However, if a level is giving me a little bit of difficulty, and I've had to restart it several times, I wouldn't mind the game recommending a specific badge then. And that's exactly what they did. And I know it's not a huge detail, but it matters to me. The badge mechanic is insanely fun. It's basically a wearable power-up that you don't lose when taking damage. And there are some really fun ones, and I'll probably make a full video talking about just the badges and which one is my favorite, so I'll leave it there for right now. Overall though, the badge mechanic has become one of my favorite things, if not my favorite thing, about Super Mario Bros. Wonder. And I know I've been praising this game for just about 10 minutes now. Credit is due where credit is due. However, this video is going to take a slight turn now, and we're going to talk about the stuff that I don't necessarily dislike, but I just think could have been better. And there's really only two things. The first one is the boss fights. And again, no spoilers, so no specifics, but I just feel like they could have been more unique. I don't feel like they're as crazy as they could have been. The final boss fight is great, but some of the mid-boss fights don't even go as wonderful as some of the normal levels. There's nothing wrong with them, and they're still really fun, but I just feel like there was a lot of potential there. The second thing is local multiplayer. I've already talked a lot about how fun online multiplayer is. One of the most impressive things about this game is that it's fun to play on its own. New Super Mario Bros. Wii and U are fun games, but I almost always played them multiplayer. I never played them on my own. They just weren't fun that way. They were made to be a multiplayer game. And Mario Bros. Wonder improves upon that system a lot. They added a bunch of new characters, they improved the respawn system by a whole bunch. Instead of dying, losing a life, and coming back in a bubble, you just turn into a ghost, and if you're able to reach someone in the time limit, you never lose your life. But they did take away one thing that made multiplayer so much fun in the other games: collision. You can no longer bounce off of or pick up other players, and I understand why that is. That would not work in online multiplayer, and they carried the way it works in online over to local multiplayer, but I still miss it. That was one of the things that made those other games so much fun. That was the point of playing in multiplayer. The second thing they changed is the way the camera works. In the older games, it would just zoom out in order to have everyone on screen. In Mario Wonder, however, one player is in charge of the entire screen. And instead of the person in charge of the camera always being player one, it's whoever is the last standing or got the highest on the flagpole. And again, I can understand this. I could see the game becoming more fun now that you're trying to race to the flagpole and see if you can get the highest. But it does make it a little bit harder when you're playing with a lot of people, especially if some of them are a little bit younger. Maybe it's better this way, and I'm just not used to it yet. I have a few last things that I would like to say, and I wasn't too sure where to put them in this video, so I'll just stick them here. One of the very first things that we ever learned about this game was that it was supposed to be hard. It was supposed to be as difficult as Super Mario Bros. 3. And to an extent, I agree with that. There are some really hard levels. And it's neat that they included a difficulty rating, which, by the way, is completely accurate. However, as hard as Mario Bros. 3, I don't think so. This game does have some hard levels, but with the badge mechanic and the easy mode characters, it's not as difficult as you might think. And lastly, I want to talk about the power-ups, specifically the elephant power-up. Why is that the only animal? And I know in the other games you only had one animal power-up. You had the penguin, the squirrel, and the cat. But this is different. This is a full transformation. It's kind of weird that it's the only one, but that's kind of the theme of this game. Weird. Also, at first, I thought it was a little weird that there were only 4 power-ups, especially since any power-up could have worked in this game. However, it was a great decision to limit it to just 4. Since we have the badge mechanic and the Wonder Flower, it would have been a little overwhelming to have too many power-ups as well. Overall though, this game is a fantastic time. The visuals are beautiful, the gameplay is engaging. Nintendo has truly mastered what a Mario game should be. This game is definitely wonderful, and you should play it if you're not already. If you enjoyed this video, thank you.